Murad V, the 33rd Ottoman Sultan, was distinguished from the 32 sultans before him in a very important way. He went down in history not with conquests and victories like his ancestors, but as the only Ottoman Sultan who was a Freemason. Another interesting feature of the Freemason Sultan was that he was also the Sultan who remained on the throne for the shortest period in Ottoman history. During the 15 years he waited as heir to the throne, he took part in various intrigues in order to become the ruler as soon as possible. Finally, he got his wish and became the Sultan, but he could only stay on the throne for 93 days. Here is the interesting story of the first and only Freemason Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. Murad V was born in 1840 and the first son of Sultan Abdülmecit. As he was the first prince, great attention was paid to his education, and he took lessons from the most famous scholars of his time. He learned French at an advanced level, made progress in music with piano lessons from Italian teachers, and composed many songs in Western style on his own. He was interested in architecture, drawing sketches, furniture, and carpentry. He developed himself to such an extent that his brother Sultan Vahdeddin, who later became Sultan, said of him, "If they put Murad on one side of the scale and the other 7 brothers on the other side, Murad would outweigh us all." In 1861, upon the death of his father Sultan Abdülmecit, he became heir to the throne when his uncle Abdulaziz ascended to the throne as the eldest of the dynasty. His uncle Sultan Abdulaziz gave him great freedom and opportunities. In fact, as the first and only Ottoman Sultan to visit Europe, he took Murad V with him as heir to the throne during his official visits to France, England, Belgium, Germany, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire in 1867. However, this European trip deeply affected Murad V's life. During these travels, he had seen and admired Europe closely and had established a close friendship with Prince Edward VII of Wales, whom he met in England. Influenced by the ideas of Prince Edward VII, who was a Freemason, Murad V was also inspired to become a Freemason and enrolled in a Masonic lodge. He also met and established close relations with several different pro-constitution groups that had fled from the Ottoman lands to Europe and continued their work there. When he returned to his country, Murad V lived a comfortable life in his mansion in Istanbul, and he saw himself as a European prince. His home was overflowing with guests, statesmen, foreigners, and intellectuals from Istanbul who were uncomfortable with Abdulaziz's rule frequently came to visit him. The people who attended these meetings opposed Abdulaziz's rule and believed that problems could only be solved by adopting a constitutional government. According to them, lack of political freedoms and arbitrary rule by Abdulaziz were causing state deterioration. Murad V agreed with these intellectuals about his uncle. For these reasons, both constitutionalists and foreign powers wanted Murad V on the throne as soon as possible because they considered him closest to them due to his Freemasonry membership. As the result of their pressure and indoctrination, Murad V became obsessed with becoming Sultan. In fact, Murad V was the one who would succeed Abdulaziz as heir to the throne. Nevertheless, he started some intrigues in order to succeed his uncle as soon as possible. The fact that Sultan Abdulaziz attached great importance to his son Yusuf Izzeddin Effendi and raised him as if he were the heir apparent caused panic in Murad V. He began to believe that he would somehow be made Sultan in his place. Murad V, whose psychology was gradually deteriorating, was impatient to overthrow his uncle and take the throne. By 1876, the opposition group began to formulate plans to dethrone Sultan Abdulaziz. Murad V was also aware of these plans and even supported the uprisings by borrowing money from Jews. The plan was set in motion on the evening of May 30th, 1876. The Dolmabahce Palace was besieged by the opposition from the land and sea, and entry and exit were forbidden. In this way, Sultan Abdulaziz was cornered and forced to abdicate. Just as this was happening, Murad V was kidnapped and brought to Circasi Pier, where the Grand Viziers and some statesmen waiting for him swore allegiance to him. A fatwa was read out about the dethronement of Abdulaziz. In this fatwa, it was said that Sultan Abdulaziz had gone insane and did not understand state affairs, and it was declared that Murad V was the new sultan because he could not manage state affairs. Murad V, who had been swiftly placed on the throne, had a delicate nature and found it difficult to handle these exciting developments. When his uncle Abdülaziz, who had been deposed, was murdered 4 days later in an apparent suicide, his psychology deteriorated. According to reports, the Sultan began to ride horses backwards and climb stairs backwards in an unconscious manner. The last straw came when he went insane in the palace and threw himself into the pool with his clothes on. Because of these strange behaviors, he was again imprisoned in Dumbalece Palace and not allowed to see anyone. Although Sultan Murad V tried to hide his psychological disorder, the truth was known to everyone. When he finally tried to kill himself by breaking the windows in his room, he was examined by doctors who told him that he was unlikely to recover. Thus, Murad V's dethronement came on the agenda, and Abdülhamid II ascended to the throne. After he was dethroned, Murad V was allowed to live in Turan Palace without any attempt on his life, and although every effort was made for his treatment, no results were obtained. His supporters, especially the Freemason circles, were spreading propaganda that he was in good health and that he had been unjustly deposed. Upon this, Abdülhamid II had Murad V examined by a committee of local and foreign doctors and received a report stating that his illness had continued and that his treatment was impossible. However, there were many groups who wanted to restore him to the throne and take advantage of this. Therefore, there were 3 different attempts to kidnap Murad V. One of them was carried out by the Freemasons, but none of them succeeded. These kidnapping attempts made Sultan Abdülhamid extremely uncomfortable, and Murad V was taken under stricter protection from then on. The former sultan, who regained his sanity in his last years, spent his days playing the piano, composing compositions dedicated to his grandchildren, and taking care of their musical education. After 28 long years of deprivation, he died of diabetes on August 29, 1904, and was buried next to his mother in Yenisami tomb. Although he yearned for the throne for years, he could only stay on the throne for 93 days. He was almost never mentally healthy during his reign.